Hi guys, Mr. Malum here. We are going to take a look at doing a wall section. We did this once before with our shed, so most of this should be a reminder video. I think that doing the entire wall section in 15 minutes is going to get pretty tight, so I am going to be pausing a lot during the video, so I apologize if it's a little bit choppy. First thing I'm going to do is take a look at the civil engineering course. I did put on the main page that same PDF that we used when we did the shed. That PDF looks like this. Basically what it's doing is you have to load in a ton of components before you do the actual wall section itself. So these were the instructions for how to load in everything that you're going to need once you load it in. So for example, you're going to click on the Annotate tab, go to Component, Load in Family, and then under the Detail items find this, then Wood Framing, then click on the Nominal Cut Lumber section, and you can load these in. I'm going to give you an example of that right now. Click on the Annotate tab, go to Component, click on Load in Family, find Detail items. In this case, I'm finding Wood and Plastic, Wood Framing, and then there's the Nominal Cut Lumber section. If I hold the control down, I can pick multiple items at the same time. So you would want to pick the ones that you're actually going to load in, which on the sheet it said the 1x4, 1x6, 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, and 2x12. That's my standard load in. Hit OK. I have already done all of the load-ins that the instructions are for, so I'm basically ready to start my wall section right now. I do not need this anymore, so I'm going to close it. One of the plans I already made in a previous video was the kitchen and bath details, and I put these interior elevations in place. I'm going to use the same exact floor plan to do my wall section. So under View, click on Section. I'm going to find an area of my house where hopefully I don't have a lot of interference, like a window or a door. I just want a basic wall. And this is a great spot right here, so I'm going to click inside my house, drag to outside my house. That's a good section where I don't have a lot of interference. If I scroll down in the project browser, there is a spot now that says Sections, Section 1, and if I click on Section 1, that is my wall section right there. So I'm going to right click, go to Rename, and call this Wall Section so that I know what it says. One of the things with the wall section that I want to do is make sure that it is in the hidden line view, also thin lines, so that we can actually see what's going on. And for detail, this is an important step. I want the detail to be fine so that I can actually see the different parts of my wall. If the detail is on coarse like it was, I can't see all the parts to the wall, so I want to make sure I click that to fine. There's also some furniture here. I'm just going to hide that in view so that all I have is my wall section. There we go. The next thing I want to do is make sure that my crop area is appropriate. So I can pull this way down, I can zoom this way up. That seems to be okay for the inside crop area. The left and the right on this really usually doesn't matter too much for where it's at. I'm going to slide these out a little bit further so they don't interfere with my wall section. I want to try to put this on the sheet to see how it fits. So I'm going to go to my wall section sheet, which I made again in a previous video. Find my wall section and drag it on here. And that's really, really, really small for fitting this entire page. So I can change the scale of this by quite a bit. I'm just going to try different scales. I'm going to make it much bigger if possible. I'm trying the 3/4 equals a foot just to see how big that is. That appears as if it's way too big now. So I'll come back down maybe one level to 1/2 inch equals a foot. And man, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to keep this wall section. 1/2 inch equals a foot. It'll fit on my page just fine. Now that I know that, I can actually do the wall section. Make sure it says 1/2 inch equals a foot here. Also, when I go to put in some labels later under annotate, text, I do like this curvy text line. I'm just going to try something for a second to see how big that text is. It looks really big. Just for the record, I'm going to change that to 3/32 Arial because that's a little bit more appropriate text size for my wall section once it goes onto the sheet and I'm ready to go. So at this point, I'm just going to delete that and start the wall section itself. First thing I'm going to do, your friend for doing the wall section is this little box right here called region. If you remember when we did it before, there's something called a filled region. So once I complete a complete loop or circle around something, I can then fill that with a certain pattern like earth. And they're actually doing in the little mini video here what we are going to do in our wall section exactly. So it's kind of nice that that's what we're using to do it. The other one is the mask region. This is like whiteout. It's just going to cover stuff up. So if I wanted to cover something, I can just go in and I can put it in there and it will literally just cover up whatever I'm going to do. Again, they're showing you this during the wall section part of the video because that's what we're doing. So the default videos here are things that we're actually going to be doing when we make our wall section. So first, use the filled region. I can use these tabs up here. I'm going to start on the outside of my building and make sure it slopes away from your building. It doesn't have to be super far away, but I do want a downward slope. I'm going to go all the way down underneath where I'm going to make that crop region bigger. Come back up on the inside. We need to make sure that we maintain a crawl space that's appropriate. And at this point, I'm just following my footing around. So I'm just following the footing around. We have to close the loop on this in order for it to actually know what it's going to fill. And I think I did that, and if I hit go, it filled it. Like I said, I'm going to adjust this crop region down here so we can see a little bit more earth. I do want to change the fill so that it is earth. So I'm going to click on it up here where it says edit type, click on it. Right now it is the diagonal crosshatch. Change that to earth. And it now looks like earth. Once I have that, I'm going to do a couple of other things since I loaded everything in. The next thing I'm going to do, around a footing, we always have an area that is actually loose gravel and sand. So I'm going to do another fill region. So make sure it says filled region. The spline tool works really well for that. Remember, click as many times as possible when using this. So I'm going to start by my footing, click, 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 click. I'm just kind of making an area around it. Click, 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 click. I do need to close the loop on this. So I'm at this point going to select the line tool so I can just do a line right around my footing because it does have to be a closed-in circle or area. Hit done, and there it is. It's done. I don't want this to be filled with earth though. Like I said, I want to change it. So I'm going to go to edit type. I'm going to duplicate this area and I'm going to call it sand and hit OK. And instead of earth, if I go down to the letter S, I should find sand. There it is. And hit OK and OK. And I now have an area that is filled with sand. Very common way to do it. So now I'm going to put in the drain tile. We did not do this when we did our shed for the first time. So the drain tile is actually going to go in on the right and to the left of it. Looking at my time, it looks like we're going to end up being over in my time, so I'm going to make 2 videos for this. In order to put in the drain tile, I'm going to go up to Annotate and select a region. It is also going to be a filled region, and in this case I want the circle. I'm going to go down here, anywhere in here I can do it. I'm going to make a 2-inch circle. So if I zoom way in, I can see that it's 2 inches. And then I'm going to make a 1.75 inch circle, or 1 3/4. And that is perfect. I do want to click on this to let it know that it's going to be a filled region. So under annotate, I'm going to pause. Sorry about that. I was in a menu and I couldn't get out of that. I needed to hit the check mark. Now that I have that filled region created by 2 circles, one was 2 inch, one was 1 3/4 inch, I once again am going to go to Edit Type, duplicate the material, and I'm just going to call this one black. Where I can change the style of it, I'm going to go down to the solid fill, which happens to be black, hit OK and OK, and I now have a solid black. This is where the water drains away from your building. Basically what happens for any water that's outside of your house, it comes towards your house. This is a pipe that runs all the way around it. The water goes into this pipe and it's going to flow away from your house. It's normally not filled with sand on the inside, so I am going to do one more thing to it under Annotate Region. And in this case, the region that I want is a masked region. And I'm going to make a circle that is again 1 3/4. It doesn't like that it's really close to that other one, so I'm just going to do it on the outside of this. Make a circle that's 1 3/4. There we go. Click Done. It's a masked region, so it's covering up everything. I can just put it right inside there now, and it will not look like it's filled with sand. Not only do you have drain tile on the outside of your wall section, but I'm going to copy it. Just click on an area, and I'm going to have one on the other side as well. There we go. So I have drain tile in next to my foundation. This is the purpose of drain tile, is to carry the water away from your foundation. And I think what I'll do is put in my rebar, and then everything should be done for this. So under Annotate, go to Component, find Metal Rebar. Here's my rebar. This is the section view, and the number 4 rebar is what we put in. It's so small though, you're going to have a really hard time seeing it. So sometimes I like to put in like the number 7 rebar, and then I'm going to call it number 4 later, but it's just a little bit more visible if I put this in. And that first one I actually put in a little bit off where I wanted it, so I'm going to click on that and delete it. There we go. This is the reinforcing bar, kind of like when we did the concrete patio for the shed. There was the reinforcing bar that goes through concrete. So you just have a couple of those that go through the footing, and you do have one more. So under Annotate, Component, there is a elevation bar number 4, and this one, if I hit spacebar, it rotates it around. We put these every 4 feet in the concrete to hold the concrete wall to the footing. There it is. So at this point, since this video is 13 minutes, I am going to stop this video and publish it. And then I'm going to continue with the rest of the wall section in a second video. So my wall section video is probably going to be 30 minutes worth of video, which is kind of what I expected. It's going to be very difficult to do this in the time frame. So find wall section video number 2 for a continuation of this.